Hi, everybody. I'm Victoria Sinclair, and I'm just here to tell you a little bit about the foundational course for conscious practitioners, which has also got a little nickname, the Serpent Course. And the course piloted earlier this year. It it came through a variety of means. That came through a series of dreams, which I received in Mexico, and also through a lot of discussions with master practitioners along a long journey um, about the importance of really understanding the importance of the root, having a foundational practice, not trying to run or fly before we can walk, and the need to help to safeguard in our communities and to also reappraise in these changing times what it is to be a conscious practitioner and how to strive to have a decolonized practice and also one that is aligned with nature rather than trying to dominate nature, which is unfortunately what a lot of the role of especially Western humans is at this moment, is a conditioning. And a lot of people are going through a huge awakening process at the moment on the planet, thankfully. And many people are receiving activations, having Kundalini awakenings, starting to see things in a different way. And amazingly, there's a really big increase in the amount of people feeling to incorporate some form of therapeutic, holistic, community based messages and ethics or modalities within their work and their lifestyle. So that's absolutely amazing. It's really needed. But what happens often is that people have an awakening process and suddenly they have this epiphany. And some people even call this like a Christ consciousness. And people start to realize that they are a sentient, aware, conscious being that is connected to the landscape and to the cosmos. And that's amazing. And as that happens, awarenesses of things like intuition and connectivity start to grow. And that's brilliant because, as well, we come into a more heart based way of living. But there also comes, for many people, a little bit of a false truth that is that wow, I've got all these miracles. In some lineages, in native Vedic traditions, it's called siddhis, and I can go and create miracles and I'm untouchable. And that's where we need to reel things in, because yes, we're coming into this awareness of these more miraculous aspects of ourselves that many people have. And also, it still requires gatekeeping. Okay. So somebody was talking to me recently and said, oh, but what, but some people just had an activation. And I said, yeah, but that doesn't mean they're ready to work with heroin addicts. It's really amazing that so many people are waking up, but we have to keep the community safe and we have to ensure that everybody finds their right place. And what happens is it's such a huge surge of energy that so many people are having that people think they're invincible. And there are people getting hurt. There are some practices and some shadow aspects of these awakenings that unfortunately are not really representative of the majority of the reality for many people on the planet. So we have still a lot of conditionings about what it is to make it in the world and what success looks like. And this is also causing fallout in a lot of the conscious new age healing community, whatever you want to call it, and especially with people of color who have really done their work and really trained, and then they see people who do a weekend course and proclaim themselves gurus. And it's really upsetting people who are really proper wisdom keepers. So this course has come through many consultations with master healers, people who've been, in the field for at least 20 years. And the pilot called me to travel across the planet and back, from Mexico to Australia and back. And we have a variety of transmissions that are aligned with natural law and natural time that were made during that journey. And thankfully now that journey is finished, which means that I can now pull it together and add in some extra masterclasses from the fledgling visit and to consolidate it more. And it's really interesting because a lot of brothers and sisters in other countries are saying, wow, we really have to do something about this thing of entitlement and privilege that keeps running through. So I come from a colonized country, but it's a developed country. So I come from Northern Ireland, and I grew up in a civil war. So I witnessed a lot of trauma, and I realized when I went to university, I spent a lot of time working in my work has been, as I studied more and more and found that there's so much racism, so much marginalization on the planet, I realized that part of my coding is to work with things like trauma and marginalization and social inclusion. And that is something that I've been deeply embroiled with for over 20 years. And it, I've had my own dark night of the soul with my own journey, with my own ancestors, with my own, addictive patternings through growing up in a place that was a war zone and just being somebody who sees stuff but didn't have anybody to talk to. And I kind of come out to some degree the other end, and I have many, many tools to share. So, and my personal, I I had to go to church when I was little, and then I stopped, and I started having spiritual experiences from when I was very young, and then the spiritual experiences told me not to go to church. And then I had like a kundalini experience and another big awakening when I was 26. So at kind of 6 years old I started going into church, I think, and then 13 I had an awakening, 26 I had an awakening, and from 26 I really started focusing on my practitioner status as a spiritual being. So I've been doing this for a while, and and what I'm lucky to bring to you is something of the world that I've been allowed to bridge and to go through with my status as somebody with light coloured skin from a colonized country, who has, I've done a long apprenticeship in this stuff, and I've spent many, many years working with Native communities. Um, Working in places like prisons in Colombia, dedicating studies and projects to inner city youth, setting up hubs in inner cities, and then doing more and more healing work and more and more things linked to sort of shamanic principles and eco psychology and psychotherapy and trauma, and now quantum work and ancestral work. So my job now is very much as a gatekeeper to help to assist people to find the way in these really important times, because the clock is ticking, and that's what the elders tell us of many tribes. And we don't really have the time that we might have had 20 years ago to kind of make loads of mistakes with things. That's why some of us can say, well, this is sort of how things work, and share a lot of what we've learned to help people to fast track. But we have to fast track safely. And if you listen to the teachings of any of the real masters, they will spend years working on the root of the body and working on the foundational practices. And so what this course includes is self-care practices, yogic principles, chi energy-based principles, explanations of how the Kundalini works, insights to permaculture, decolonization, the yin versus the yang, natural law, natural time, and many, many more things. And every intake that we do of courses is always unique. So we really call in that it's a constellation so that people are interweaving. So we also open a sacred space. We call in many guides and we call in your ancestors, and we do it as a constellation over the 13 weeks. And in fact, the pilot, people felt that they weren't finished with the pilot, so we kept it going for another 4 weeks. So we also, the way we like to run courses with the Lotus Consciousness program, especially as we are still in the process of setting up our more global tendrils, is that it's not just, oh, here's a recorded thing and go and do that. We have an online community. So when you're in the constellation, you will receive your course materials, and those are aligned with the time that we're in. So I work with natural law, natural time, and what's coming through the collective field, and we can textualize things so that you can make sense of your process. And that often takes people into a deeper layer of shedding and awareness of what they are working through and upgrading into. So we do that, and we have real-time tutorials and seminars. So not everything is predestined and predetermined that happens on the course, because we work very much with what's coming up in the field. So the way the Lotus program works is we're very much into being there for you. And obviously, if you do a deeper course with us, we have really deep mentoring where we're with you for a year in all dimensions. But this is a taste of that. For us, it's important that we have contact with you, and we try to make that happen. And it's like herding cats these days internationally, but we make windows and we change different scheduled times so that people can all have some sort of interaction with us. And we have an online forum to assist for us to build beyond the thematics that are expressed and analysed in any one masterclass, so that we can deepen the meaning for those who are participating in the course. What else? Yeah, it's a global thing. What the guides wanted was that transmissions were coming through from across the planet and back. And with that, we weave some of what the archetype of the serpent is. And having been brought up in the Church of the Serpent, and especially in my country, St. Patrick supposedly got rid of the serpents. It's been an interesting journey for me for 20 years working with the archetype of the serpent, which came to me when I was in my dark night of the soul, and opened up a big journey for me with Kundalini energy, with epigenetics and DNA and plant medicines. And the journey with which I took the pilot course and made the transmissions for that opened up many doors and awarenesses to other mystery schools and people who have been really exploring the serpent energy for a long time, and that I have things to offer to that. So it's a very unique course in that we weave indigenous science and ancient cosmologies from many, many lineages. And since doing the pilot, I now have I feel I'm more placed to share what I knew and had learnt, but now that I have gone to another level of it, thanks to the course and being guided to do that, I am now in a place to explain even more to you. So it's a really exciting time, because we are here to work with many things like our masculine and feminine, our relationship to sex, to ego, material, to death. And those are all things that we explore because they're connected to the serpent archetype in some cosmologies. And these are key values that we have to work with as conscious practitioners. So not only do they come up in the dreamtime weaving of native tribes, but if we want to create a safe and successful practice that really is conscious, rather than something that's kind of very Instagram friendly, then it's super important that we start to understand the archetype. So I'm really looking forward to going deeper into this with you all. and sharing some real-time space with you, and starting to tune in, and hearing from you what you need from us, because we may have slightly different geographical locations, that participants are from this time, and it's always very interesting to see what we call soup of the day, what's up for people at any given time and location. So our team is totally in support of your specific questions and needs as a group of practitioners. And we've had people ask before, so the course is great if you've already got an established practice, and you've gone through some sort of level of awakening. But this is also a great course if you are going through a process of awakening and would like to know more about healing and community. So we have principles that are very important for practitioners, but you're super welcome to take part if you care about the planet, if you're interested in natural law and natural time, if you're feeling you need some confidence and need a little bit of mentoring. We don't give a lot of mentoring because this is not the format of this course. We have mentoring courses available, and those can also be an add-on after this. This is like a foundation to help to leapfrog you to a higher position in your healing practitioner journey. So I hope that explains a little bit. The course is pretty much open to anybody who is willing to take a journey of unraveling, possibly for some of you, the dominance of patriarchal academic ways of looking. So we give texts and resources that come from academia and from like evidence-based studies and peer-reviewed journals, but we also include more intuitively based sources, because this is the time where we bring the masculine and the feminine together. So it's super important that the hegemonic and patriarchal and colonial grips of certain vantage points and ways of looking are allowed to subside a little to make space for the slightly more yin, receptive ways of imbibing and processing information, so that you can come into the field and into your community a more balanced person, and to find your place with that as we go into a big transformation on the planet. And in these coming months, we're going to be finding more and more systems and structures slotting together as the global community grows. And this course is a really, really useful template to start to operate from a community standpoint. And with that, we're working on creating, and we started making it, and it's already delivered in one of its forms, but we've created a manifesto for conscious practitioners, which is going to be a supplementary self-regulation document of sorts to assist people to make an oath for good practice, because this is something that's in a world where so much is regulated by red tape and an authoritarian, slightly oppressive way of looking at people and practices, which often is what creates mistakes. For me, what I find is when we actually have a community that communicates, and we're all there, and we know our space with it, and we're all totally committed, and we've made a pledge for the greater good, and we have people we can check in with, that actually it assists us to work through challenging situations, and eliminates this depersonalized aspect of pen pushing and regulating with very austere paperwork. And I'm not saying that that doesn't have a place, but we're coming into this age of the heart, and rather than scrutiny where it's always guilty until proven innocent, and finger pointing, and that's a throwback from the colonial system of the judge archetype. So if we can come back into a framework where we work beyond archetypes like the judge and the critic, the missionary who's always trying to rescue people, or the victim or the perpetrator, and we can find those in ourselves as practitioners, that's when we get to the gold, where our communities can really step up, because we're pulling these intrinsic codes that sit in pretty much all of us, And as such, they become wounds that we can end up wielding in our practice, and often unconsciously. These are things we get to grips with in a compassionate way on the course, so that we can step beyond that. Sorry, my little thing's going funny. Let me just check it's still recording. Sorry, hard to do this at the same time. I hope you can see me. I'm doing my password wrong because I'm trying to multitask. Not very well. Wow, it's just not letting me in. Oh, I see why. Okay, so sorry about that, guys. Please get in touch if you've got any questions. The course has got a lot of content in it, and we do give breathing space at times, and sometimes we will go, right, you know what, we're going to keep it open another 2 weeks because you need this. So we tune in, we work with the days and the times, and we have mini crystal balls, but not very big crystal balls, and things come up and sometimes shift, and we want to make sure you all get as much out of the course as possible. So we work with means dependent scales. We have a few payment plans available, and we have a few bursary places for people who don't come from privilege. Please, if and we have occasionally got some part work exchanges available, but other than that, please do honor the energy commitment that we require, because it's very well weighted for the amount of real time tuition that you get, the newness of the materials, the many lineages and masters that come together to do that. And yeah, if you've got any questions, do get in touch, and we'll give you as many answers as we can. We're just tweaking this intake's subject matter, at least for the first 5 or 6 weeks, so that we get you started, and then often we bring in new materials because of how the group is. So yeah, just know that very soon there's going to be a deeper syllabus online, but for now the brochure is there, and you can check in to see if it resonates, and any questions, please get in touch. Lots of love and much gratitude. Take care. Bye bye.